Welcome, everybody, to another exciting edition of Nerd-Splain-It, a comic book podcast for every level of nerd. This is our fourth grandiose episode. Today, we are talking about binge-worthy TV shows, superheroes and comics on the small screen. We're going to be going through superhero and comic book TV shows, past, present. We're going to be talking about what we like, what we don't like, how far we've come, because let's face it, we're in a golden age of superhero television. Before we get going, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You can find it on almost every major podcast service. Find it on iTunes. Go through and like our Facebook. Find us on Twitter. And don't forget to stop by our website, nerdsplainit.com. And if you have something you want to say, questions you want to ask, go ahead and stop by the Nerd-Splain-It helpline at 805-669-7230. As always, the four of us are here. We've got Jess, she leads. Greg does machines. House has got an attitude and he's rad. And I'm the Mikey. Not because I'm cool. I love pizza and I eat too much of it.
For the first ever Nerd-Splain-It contest for a chance to win Justice League digital copy, we have our winner. The winner of this contest is Joshua Drake. Joshua, thank you very much, and thank you all who've participated in this contest by going to our social media and liking, sharing, commenting, all that good fun stuff. We'll definitely be getting in contact with Joshua. So again, we want to say thank you on behalf of Nerd-Splain-It, and congratulations, Joshua.
So like I said, we're talking about superhero TV shows. I know for me growing up, boy, did I have awful ones. I grew up and we had a show called Mantis about a paralyzed guy that put on a super suit that was clearly made of foam, rubber, and plastic. Nightman, which was not very good at all. But now we've come so far after so many series, and there's not a better time to catch your superheroes on the small screen. With that, I'm going to kick it over to Greg. Greg,
hey,
get us started.
So, well, I'll start off by asking this first question. Is Nightman a parody off of a famous comic book character?
I'm sorry. I immediately went to It's Always Sunny.
And honestly, It's Always Sunny's Nightman would have been a better show. No, it was an original property. It was a weird one. Nightman was like the only show in a sea of the only live action one, or one of the few live action ones in a sea of like the Fox animated ones, like X-Men, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man. Oh. And I know a lot of people grew up in the 90s, love those. Yeah, go back and watch them. they don't hold up well. Try to count how many times Spider-Man punches somebody in the animated series. It's not pretty. But we had Batman, Superman.
Yeah, but that intro to Spider-Man, man.
The animated series, yeah. But the cartoons of our youth were fantastic.
Of course.
The X-Men's animated series, like the intro music to that.
Oh my gosh, iconic.
So good.
Like, yeah, it's great. But yeah, and the thing is, when I liked the Flash TV show. The only episode I ever remember though was it was Flash versus like a blue Flash. The only episode I remember. I have no idea what the hell was going on in that episode, but that was it. I remember that episode being cool.
You know what I forgot? Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman.
That show.
Wow, what a throwback! Yeah, I forgot about that show as well.
I'm pretty sure Terry Hatcher was my first my first Lois Lane crush. Because Margot Kidder had already started drinking and going crazy.
We're talking about all these old shows,
right.
And I should probably let our listeners know these are not things I was able to watch as a child. Rules were strict.
you couldn't watch when I was a kid, we couldn't watch Simpsons, Roseanne, or Married with Children, but you couldn't even watch
Beavis and Butthead.
You couldn't even watch Lois and Clark.
Oh no, it was ridiculous the amount of things I couldn't watch Saturday morning cartoons. Like you jump on, ABC's doing their Saturday morning cartoons. The second Gargoyles comes on, my mom's like, TV off,
man.
go outside and play.
Gargoyles?
Man, that's the one to
Yes.
watch, man.
You know what we didn't mention? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh my god, I love that show. And
Still holds up.
yeah, that's actually still a pretty good one. It's nothing like the comics. The comics are dark.
Oh, yeah.
My god, if you didn't know.
Katanas are actually used.
Yeah, the original Ninja Turtles comics are so dark, and the show, I guess looking back, it was kind of a toy grab.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
See, and that's another show I didn't see, but I saw the first movie I was allowed to watch, and we wore that VHS out.
Wow. You know, it's interesting, like, thinking about all the shows back in the late 80s, 90s. The one thing that they all had in common, well, I say a good number of them, were the intro songs. They were on point. Like nowadays, it's hard to come across a memorable intro or theme song, I should say. But like the Ninja Turtles theme song, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They're all memorable.
Yeah, I was just looking it up earlier to get the intros down.
since Jess missed out on a fair bit of the childhood, not the childhood, but the TV shows that we grew up with.
Childhood sounds about right.
Yeah, pretty much. Just missed out on most people's childhood.
But anyway,
so Jess, since you didn't get to appreciate or go through and earn your stripes when it came to the bad stuff in the 80s and 90s, where are you at with TV now then? With the superhero shows now?
Everywhere. Like I just want to take it all in. I want it all. Is it just because these shows are as good as they are, and it's like Dave said, the golden age, that I'm loving all of it, or am I trying to compensate for childhood that was just lacking?
A little column A, a little column B.
Yeah,
because I think there's a full spectrum of
Right.
quality of the shows that are out right now. There's ones that I would consider not very good. Gotham.
well, let's start there, because when I first started watching, I think I've only seen season 1 of Gotham. I really liked it when it first started going, and then it very quickly turned me off, and I just wasn't able to follow.
Right. I think that's a very universal idea of Gotham, because even for me, when it first started, I thought it was great. And then it hit a point where it wasn't so much interesting, is more of I feel like they didn't really do that great of a job explaining what the show was. I think a lot of people had a misconception of what it was, because in our last episode 3, how the title of a show misleads the audience. And I think when people see the name Gotham, they're thinking, oh, this is going to be about Batman. Not so much in this case. This is more or less a story taking place literally in Gotham. And I think people kind of didn't read that.
Well, yeah. So, we were looking into why Gotham has been successful for what now, 4 seasons?
Correct.
And why is that a thing? Because it's not following any of the rules
At all.
It's completely just it's different. So basically, they're not doing anything that has anything to do with the Batman lore.
Right.
And as we were reading up on why these directors and producers are creating the show Gotham the way that they are, it's because comic book culture has exploded in the last 10 years, and
It's
now
like a big bang.
we're getting some shows that are pretty in line with what's in the comics, but then when you get Gotham, or one of the shows I recently started watching, Riverdale, they're not the same as the comics were, and it's more that they're focusing on the storytelling and the drama to bring an audience in.
So they're taking sprinkles of what makes today's TV shows popular or, entertaining to watch, and then applying characters or superheroes into the mix.
I personally feel like it's more acceptable for them to make those decisions with Riverdale and make it, because they've taken it and made it a modern day story.
Right. Because what is it, following Archie?
Yeah.
Do you want Jughead? Because this is how you get Jughead. mean,
Well,
if Veronica dead gives you an erection, only half of one. The other half of me would really miss you.
Well,
oh my God, you do a wonderful Archer voice.
I'd never let anything happen to your bacon. I love you, Santa Claus.
Are we gonna get Tusken Raider laugh?
I'm so excited. Like, you have to do that voice all the time, Dave.
I work with a guy. Like, I have to throw on that voice. I work with a guy. That's his natural speaking voice.
Oh, wow.
Jesus. Yeah, you try to call the office. Thanks for calling, blah, blah, blah. This is Sam. What can I do for you? Stop. Blah. I need to readjust here. I thought it was...
So we're going to have to take some of those lines that Dave just said and make t-shirts. Those are going to sell like crazy.
You want nerds? Because this is how you get nerds.
Nice.
I want that t-shirt.
All right.
There you go.
I'm on it.
That also makes me wonder. Okay, so Archer, is that correct? Archer?
Archie. Archer is the FX animation that is wonderful and glorious.
Okay, well then Archie. Okay, so Archie's been around forever?
75 years, I think.
Okay, so since before I was born.
Yeah, I don't think print media existed without Archie.
Yeah, like I think on the 8th day, God created Archie.
I gotta hold back that laughter because that was hilarious. But so Archer's been around since forever. Since
Archie.
Oh my gosh, Archie.
You know what? I think we just know he's talking about Archie. It's been around for a long time. Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
So Archie's been around for a long time, and so how do you? I guess how does? No, I'm not asking how they actually do it, but it's just more along the lines of, okay, so you have a property that's been around forever, and now it's 2018. Is it a bad thing to kind of flip the story differently from what the original content was, just to modernize? You know?
I think CW, all of their shows start out as just like a teenage drama series. Okay. Smallville was very much that way. Arrow, watch the first 2 seasons of Arrow, or really the first season of Arrow. That it's a teenage drama that happens to involve a superhero.
Right.
The Flash still holds on to a lot of that teenage drama. I don't remember an episode of The Flash where Barry wasn't crying or sneaking off to a corner to sulk for a minute because he's got to deal with some internal stuff.
Right.
Like falling in love with your
while shaking his head.
Yeah, while shaking his head. He's a human bobblehead.
Every single time he talks, shaking his
head. Don't get me wrong.
I love you, Grant Gustin. Don't ever change.
Don't ever change.
You have the singing voice of an angel.
Yes.
I'm in love with him.
I would pay you all of the money that I have just to be serenaded to sleep one night. That's all I have.
Don't hate me, but I missed that episode.
Oh, there's a couple. He's done it in a couple episodes.
Don't be sorry.
I missed both episodes.
Oh, you missed them.
I have not seen them at all.
Oh, you need.
Well, you can actually. He was on Glee for like 5 or 6 seasons. You can just
legit?
Watch
oh wow!
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
And Melissa Benoist was on like a couple of episodes of Glee.
Wow!
But back to the point was that CW shows they start off as these teenage dramas. Supernatural, it's 13 seasons in. It's not necessarily a teenage drama anymore with all that angst. Now the characters are much older, but
it's like a middle-aged drama at this point.
Right.
It's been on so long. Like, the only reason they still have Baby the car is because it's a midlife crisis.
Hell no, I'm keeping this is paid off.
They're one more season away from wearing "Make America Great Again" hats.
Oh my god.
So I think they look for properties that will appeal, and you know, Arrow grew up as a show because people realize the people who started out watching it didn't really care about the whole superhero aspect, but they were able to start fleshing more of that out and into the series. Supernatural did a lot of the same thing. Riverdale is it's something that, I mean, Archie in the comics is a little kid and whatnot, but what else sells other than teenage drama is horror. Somehow that Teen Wolf series on MTV, I think, got more than 5 seconds of airtime, which is shocking.
Chronicles as well.
Yeah, so I mean, it was something they were able to adapt. To Jess's point about Gotham, sure, I bet the production values are fine. I saw the first handful of episodes. I gave it, its day in court, and it was such a letdown. Because, I mean, it was that show, pardon my French, blue balled the hell out of me. Because I was thinking, okay, I'm going to see something neat, something unique. Okay, we're going to see Gotham in a way that we hadn't seen it. Okay, Bruce is a little kid. All right, Gotham's still a shithole. Like, it's a bad city. And there was a comic book series that I haven't read. Dave has. I'm going to toss it to him. But it was the series GCPD, and it was Gotham City Police Department. And it was the main character was Jim Gordon, and it was just stories about how Gotham handled the high level of crime. But Dave read more of it than I did.
Yeah, whenever they announced Gotham, I honestly thought it was going to be like the GCPD series, which I believe was originally written by Ed Brubaker. GCPD was such a cool series because it was Gotham and the crimes that happened around Gotham, and Batman was not really in it. He'd be a shadow over here or a passing image, but it really focused on the police force, the major crimes unit, stuff like that of the GCPD, and it just made it fascinating. It gave it that street level grittiness. It was like Law and Order Gotham City.
Right.
Like, I seriously think you could make a GCPD series, but it'd have to have like Ice-T, and every episode would have to begin with a rape committed by Victor Zsasz or the Riddler.
Bum bum.
Right. The kid's into this new thing called Joker gas. It's when you huff cat piss and then you start laughing while stabbing a homeless dude.
Oh my God.
Also with Gotham,
Got a spit tank. I win.
spit tank.
Expect the stabbing a homeless man part. Huffing cat piss. I saw that coming a mile away. Man. Somehow, after all these years, that caught me.
And with Gotham, for me, I don't watch it anymore. Full disclosure.
Neither do
I watched the first season, and there was interesting things like introducing oh my God, Jada Pinkett Smith's character, Fish Mooney.
Nicholson.
Miss Mooney.
The character's name.
Jada Pinkett Smith,
Mooney.
Fish Mooney.
Fish Mooney.
That's
yeah.
what I said.
And I thought that was a neat character, but after it seemed like she'd gone away at the mid-season finale of season 1, and then they came back from the mid-season break,
Mm-hmm.
and she was back, and I think it was Dollmaker, I think, was the doctor that was running, where she was. I don't know. It just sort of fell off. And being the kind of jerk that I am, I couldn't reconcile certain things. Like, oh, this is young Bruce Wayne. He's like, 10 years old. And this is Selena Kyle, who's clearly a couple years older, which isn't going to matter once they get older. But then you have the Riddler, who's like 10 or 12 years older than him.
Yeah, and they've spent seasons and seasons trying to build towards, okay, the Joker finally showing up, and it's like, oh, it's this character, it's that character.
I wanted to love it so much, and I don't know why it took me so long to realize that Bruce Wayne is a child. Like, I'm not going to get the show that I want.
Yeah.
Right, like, at least Birds of Prey gave us an adult Batman. The show's not great. The show's not great. It's not great. But you know what? Kudos for them trying. I mean, it was right there. Like, I think Witchblade was still on. They were still giving that a shot. But Birds of Prey, it was Oracle, Batgirl, and Huntress, and it was the three of them. But what was kind of neat is there were episodes here and there where you got to see them in very comic book accurate suits, at the very least. And then they do actually have Batman show up in an episode, and he's in the full. It's the Michael Keaton suit from the first one, from the '89 Batman. He rolls it, and he's just kind of standing off. I mean, they probably only had the guy in a Batman t-shirt and a cowl on. That may have been it, but it looked close enough. So they at least tried to adapt more of the comics that made sense than just trying. I mean, I'm all for Elseworlds. I mean, I love Red Sun and Kingdom Come and some of these other ones. But when you advertise out the gate that here's gonna be Gotham before Bruce was Batman. But season 2, he's in all black and he's jumping around on rooftops and he's 12. Mm-hmm. What are you talking about? And like Selena Kyle is wearing a suit that it looks like when she grows up that's gonna be like the preview of the Catwoman suit. It's like, stop trying to have your cake and eat it too. Like pick one.
Yeah. And now I'll give Gotham credit. The guy who plays the Riddler, I think his performances were great. I really liked him. The guy who plays Penguin, I loved because he had this great sort of sinister quality to him that he really pulled through. But Gotham seemed to have an issue that a lot of shows prior to the Arrowverse had. Smallville had this issue where for a while they seemed to be afraid to put the heroes in their costumes.
Oh,
the real ones. Like Smallville, most of the time it was Clark wearing a blue or red plaid shirt.
Right.
And then when he becomes a superhero, it's a blue shirt and like a red leather jacket.
The entire movie of Power Rangers.
Right, essentially. But I mean, they had that rule. Like the director and the producer of the show had that rule for Smallville: no flights, no tights.
Yep.
And okay, but you're also gonna. And I'm thankful for Smallville, because if it weren't for Smallville, we wouldn't have Arrow, we wouldn't have Flash, we wouldn't have Black Lightning, we wouldn't have a lot of the shows that we have now, or probably any of them. And it kept Superman in the limelight in the media for a decade when there wasn't anything going on with that character aside from what was going on in the comics.
Right.
But like my problem was, it was okay, Superman or Clark, he fights all of his big bads prior to college, like, or whatever. He deals with Darkseid. He deals with Darkseid and Doomsday before he's 25 years old.
Like, he was out of college by the time he faced Darkseid and Doomsday, because Darkseid was like, I think, the very last season. It was oddly done because you never really see much of him, sort of. He takes over the body of Lionel Luthor, who played amazingly throughout the series by John Glover.
Right.
And yeah, they didn't do when they first introduced the Justice League in like season 5. No tights, no flights. Hoodies.
Hoodies, though. Everyone gets a hoodie.
They wore hoodies that vaguely resembled their color scheme in the comics, and you didn't get real. You didn't get real honest to God costumes. Well, okay, Ollie, played by Justin Hartley, who eventually went on to play Aquaman in the pilot for Aquaman, which is amazing. Find it online. He kind of had a full costume. I love the way they did Green Arrow on that show, but you didn't get really comic accurate costumes until way later when they pulled in the Justice Society, and you had Star Spangled Girl, Dr. Fate, Hawkman, and then eventually Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. And the Booster Gold episode's so much fun. Like, Smallville has its issues, but there are some really great parts. My favorite being Michael Rosenbaum, best Lex Luthor.
So we've been talking a lot.
Yep.
So going back to Gotham real quick, just to kind of defend the show, because the show has some positives as well, but it just seems like, okay, so we have characters like Selena Kyle, right? Those who read the comic books or are familiar with the Batman, lore, they know Selena Kyle is to be Catwoman. But is this show pushing her to be the Catwoman that we know? Obviously, she's young, so they're kind of doing the whole X-Men kind of thing. But her point in the show now isn't really to be that character that everyone's familiar with. This is more along the essence of Catwoman, sort of. Is that?
She's not in stitched skin-tight leather yet, but...
And like the Penguin,
like,
he's not...
It's the character development is what you're
saying.
Right.
The character development is different. Like the Penguin, he's not necessarily the Penguin that we know from the comic books, but he has likenesses. And this far in the series, Jerome, who is supposedly the Joker, he has likenesses of the Joker that we know, but he's not the Joker. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what they're doing with these characters. So is that taking away from the show, do you think? Like, if you're going to have a character acting like the Joker, just own it and have him be the Joker. Is that what you guys are saying?
I think it would be more successful, like with Riverdale. Mm-hmm. They're kind of doing the same thing. It's not necessarily aligned with the comics.
So they should have done what Smallville should have done.
I think with Riverdale it's okay because the overwhelming population does not know every tiny detail about Archie.
Archer.
Archie.
I don't know anything about Archie except for when, like, I've seen online where they take like the actual words in the word bubbles and they substitute them out for far more adult content. That's hysterical.
Yeah, the only thing about Archie I know is an argument from the movie Chasing Amy by Kevin Smith about Archie and Jughead being lovers.
Yeah, like Archie's one of those. If I happen to have the newspaper in front of me and I'm looking through the funnies, the little comic strips, I mean, I'll read that little one window panel, which is fine. So yeah, I mean, I'm not against taking a property and changing it and adapting it to something else. what I have trouble, like, for me to get on board, is taking such an established property, advertising it as one thing, and then delivering something else because, you realize, crap, people are watching a Batman show. They need to see some kind of Batman. So we need to make this 12-year-old into Batman. Like, dude, and if you're showing how the villains became the villains, cool. But we're about to, that show's 4 or 5 seasons in. We're a season away from Bruce not being in Gotham anymore, and he's traveling the world. Okay, if you're going to keep the show going, Bruce has got to go bye-bye, and it's just got to be the police force dealing with this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I still have a huge attachment to the 1960s Batman series. It's campy. It's unholy campy. But I grew up with it, watching reruns and syndication. And so, like, you tell me Mr. Freeze, I'm thinking George Sanders. I'm thinking Eartha Kitt, Lee Merriweather, and Julie Newmar for Catwoman. I mean, those characters on TV are still very much the 60s, Batman for me. And it's hard to sort of top that because there's a nostalgia factor for me, which I hate. I'm typically not a nostalgia guy, but at least I can say with the 60s Batman series, it very much reflected what the comics were like at the time.
Oh,
those comics were so cheesy in the 60s and 70s. One thing I want to know, Jess, what the fuck got you into Riverdale?
Okay.
I'm not the demographic for Riverdale.
Neither am I.
I got into Riverdale because my sister started watching Riverdale, and I walked in and I was like, what are you watching? And I know this kid from the Disney Channel. Like, what the hell is going on? What, did somebody murder somebody? What is this? Like, so I really just got into the show because my sister was watching it.
When you say you walked in and you were wondering, you saw this guy on Disney Channel, oh my God, has there been a murder? I started thinking, so was Riverdale just Twin Peaks with Archie?
Archer.
Now we just got Greg really confused.
Jess, what keeps you watching Riverdale? Like, do you watch it week in and week out?
I just started.
Okay, so what's keeping you invested in it?
The drama. I don't have any in my real life, and instead of creating drama that is unnecessary, I like watching the show.
Create an alternate personality.
She created an alternate reality where there's no drama in her life.
No.
Sorry,
Go
ahead. I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I was trying to make it.
I'm in denial.
Okay.
I'm in denial. No, I'm just referring to, like, yes, there's drama in my lives, guys. Absolutely. But we're not going to bring it up here because, well, that's going to cause more drama. This is, no, it's more of that, I don't know. It's the chick thing. I just enjoy the drama.
And with TV shows, there's drama, but the drama has a resolution. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a resolution of the drama. In our lives, that's why it's escapism. Right. In our lives, there's drama. We don't know if there's going to be a resolution. So it's a little bit different, Oh,
I know it'll resolve someday.
Right. Are there any other superhero shows that you're watching right now?
The Flash. House introduced it to me. I keep watching because it's just wonderful. And I love the characters. I love the development.
You've had a lot of questions about that show. Like, what are some of the questions that you've had?
Okay, so Barry Allen and Wally West. Is the relationship in the show the same as it is in the comics? Because I was under the impression it was completely different.
I'll field this one. I'm a huge Flash fan. Behind me I have a shelf of Flash figures and comics, and I've got more right over here. So to answer your question, in the comics, prior to the New 52, so traditionally, I guess, the relationship is that Barry Allen is married to Iris West, who later becomes Iris West Allen. Iris's nephew is Wally West. So because he's very close with his aunt, he gets to be very close with Barry. But Iris and Wally are not brother and sister like they are on the show. If I recall correctly, it's been a while since I've read the New 52 Flash, and I have volumes of it. if I recall, that's how it was in the New 52 when they introduced the African American Wally West. They made them, I think it was brother and sister, but I'm not quite positive. If you out there know for a fact that I'm wrong, if you can correct me on that, call the hotline 805-669-7230. Let me know if I am just dead wrong on that, please. Or leave it in the comments below. We love your feedback. You can teach us as much as we hope to teach you.
But we do. That's one thing I've never picked up on. Mm-hmm. And I've read a fair bit of Flash. Mm-hmm. Wally is Iris's nephew, mm-hmm. but we never meet her brother or sister who would be the parentage of Wally.
Yeah, I have no idea who that is. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't
know if his parents are dead or what.
Just absentee.
Could be.
Prom night dumpster baby.
and I'm trying to remember. I think in the comics, Wally has the unfortunate luck of going through the exact same accident that Barry does.
Yeah.
That gives him his powers. Like, how? What? This seems like odd writing.
Without the added benefit of being your own lightning bolt.
Right.
Because
exactly.
they end up going full circle with that, where Barry is, and that's canon. That's full canon for him, because I think it's in Rebirth that they established that.
I think so.
That Barry was the lightning bolt that hits him in his lab, that spills the chemicals, and he gets all sticky and fast.
Sticky and fast.
It's you don't often get to be both. Trust me.
I do. Just ask any one of my exes. I am fast and then it's sticky.
Yeah. So, we're on the edge. So Wally just did get struck by lightning, and then it goes back, and then after, and Wally was around in the 80s when he was just Barry's sidekick. So you had two Flashes running around. At the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, Barry sacrifices himself. Wally takes over as the Flash. He was skeptic. He was afraid to do it because of how much he loved and admired Barry. And he had actually they went in and wrote it in that he had actually put a mental block on himself so that he couldn't access enough speed. So he theoretically is faster than Barry, but wouldn't allow himself to be as fast as Barry because he felt like that would be overshadowing the person he admired so much. And then you have all the other Flashes that show up, but that's a different topic.
Yeah. Well, we'll cover that on the Flash episode.
You're right.
What's up, Greg?
When you watch the Flash, they have a certain structure, right? So the whole relationship with Professor Wells and how that kind of works. Was he a character in the comic that was recurring as often as he is in the show?
I've never seen a single comic that wasn't based on the Flash TV show that had Dr. Harrison Wells in it. Not a single one. Same with, Cisco Ramon, I think, wound up in the New 52.
He was in the New 52, but Vibe, his name wasn't Cisco Ramon in the comics.
Right.
It was something Ramon, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't remember what Vibe's real name was, but he's a C-D list character anyway that shows up to help out. But he's been on different team level superhero teams, but he wasn't really around much.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
For all the I was a huge fan of the Flash TV series for the first several seasons. I don't watch as much now. Sorry, CW. Love you, Green Cousin. Call me. But for all the sort of twisting and manipulating that they did with characters and creating new characters, one of the things I did love about the Flash early on was how many subtle or not so subtle references they made to obscure characters in the comics, or that they just flat out brought in. For me, it was really neat that they had guys like Atom Smasher and Metroplex, and I was so excited because I never thought of a primetime superhero TV show would do Gorilla Grodd, the psychic tyrant gorilla. It just seems so far-fetched. And this is what I love about The Flash, is that while Arrow, to me, that first season, it wanted to be the CW teen drama with a superhero bend,
right.
The Flash wasn't afraid to be a superhero show right from the get-go.
Right.
But then eventually...
So while we're talking about the two... the The Flash seems a lot more lighthearted and fun compared to Arrow, which is dark and gritty. Is it the same way in the comics?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, the Flash comics are usually a lot more bright and colorful, and because this is, I don't want to step too far off the mark, outside the realm of your question, but like Flash has an interesting relationship with his villains, with his rogues gallery that no other hero in comics has. He has a standing agreement with most of them, which they did show in the actual TV show. It's, look, it was, guys, if you want to try and rob banks, try and rob them all day long. I'll chase you. Don't kill anybody. That's the rule. Don't kill anybody, and we'll play cat and mouse. We'll play cops and robbers. Sometimes you guys are going to get away. Sometimes I'm going to catch you, and you're going to go to jail for it. You're going to break out of jail. I'm going to try and chase you down. So there is a lot more playfulness. Does it get very serious when characters like Zoom and Eobard Thawne show up? Sure, because he doesn't have the standing agreement with those two psychopaths.
Right. Or the top.
Yeah. Arrow is a fair bit darker. Because he's that nighttime vigilante, and for the TV show, they took a story right off Batman's shelf, and it was Head of the Demon for season 3. That's actually a Batman story, Head of the Demon, where Ra's al Ghul wants Bruce to become the head of the League of Assassins.
In the comics, it's League of Assassins. When it does movies and TV, it's usually League of Shadows. I think in the show it's League of Assassins. Maybe
I think so. But he wanted Bruce and Batman to take that over and marry his daughter and stuff. Well, they don't have a live action Batman show going right now, and Oliver Queen is essentially Batman.
I haven't read a whole lot of Green Arrow comics. Like, I'm looking over at my shelf, and I have Green Arrow Quiver by Kevin Smith.
Some nice guy bought that for you.
Yeah, exactly. I have every single issue of the follow-up, which is Green Arrow Sounds of Violence, also by Kevin Smith. I've read some Green Arrow, and I believe from what I've read of earlier Green Arrow stuff, it is actually a bit more chipper. Huh. It's almost like Oliver Queen is a combination of Bruce Wayne and Jay Gatsby, but like the Robert Redford Jay Gatsby, where everyone's old sport. And then Green Arrow took a little bit of a turn when they combined him with Green Lantern in the 70s, and they handled really street level crime and racial injustice and drugs and all that.
Hey, I have a question. They're in the same universe, correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so lately it seems as if Flash has been, at least in season 2, they've been doing a lot of...
You're in season 2 of Flash, okay.
Well, just particularly then, there was a lot of let's fix this kind of a thing, back and forth between the universes. In Arrow, in its standalone show, the effects of the Flash, excluding the crossovers, have there been any type of changes because of the changes in the Flash? Him going, like when he went back and tried to save his mom, and she was alive.
Oh yeah, yep.
Did it affect Arrow in its standalone show?
Yeah,
big time.
Oh, that's impacts.
Okay.
And because of the convoluted way time travel works in Flash comics and the TV show, the people in Arrow don't know it. Mm-hmm. They don't remember what life was like before that. And there are, I think it was these last season's big crossover event. No, it was, or maybe it was one of the Dominators. They have a come to Jesus moment where Barry admits to having changed the timeline and tells each of them how their lives are different now because he changed the timeline, and they are pissed.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Wow.
Because, well, why lie? I mean, he's bearing all that on his soul.
But isn't that kind of like a butterfly effect? Like you don't. That's a line that he shouldn't have.
Right. Well, it's a lesson that and they did it in the show in a way that worked because it's a lesson that Barry that most speedsters had to learn. Any speedster that could break the time barrier, and how Barry learns the lesson is usually via Eobard Thawne torturing him, because Eobard Thawne can move through time as much as he wants to. It's just a nifty little ability he has as a speedster, but he understands the effects. Like, he's very surgical when it comes to the points in time he's going to affect. If you're just a hero racing to save the day, you're not doing it with the deft hand that the situation calls for. And so you end up breaking things. And when Barry does that, Eobard gets to hold that over his head. Like, look, you tried to save the day, and you just made the whole damn thing worse. So, I mean, that's what Flashpoint was.
And ultimately, that's kind of what got me out of The Flash, is for all the things I liked about The Flash in the first couple seasons, it became so formulaic. The Flash became very much, my name is Barry Allen, and I'm the fastest man alive. Except for this yellow guy.
And then this blue guy.
My name is Barry Allen, and I'm the fastest man alive. Except for this guy in a black suit. My name is Barry Allen, and I'm the fastest man alive. Except for this guy in the big metal suit. And then it became there's memes of it all over the internet. That's a nice timeline you have there. Sure would be a shame if And it was always, Barry, don't ever mess with the timeline. I know, I've learned my lesson. Just one more thing I need to fix. No, God damn it, Barry.
But wasn't there a consequence of him going back? Like, wasn't there like
every time
a Reaper or some type of
every single time, like
death thing that was after him for doing it?
Yeah.
Speed race.
Yeah, those are in the comics. Yes, they made it look more like the Black Racer. A version of the Black Racer from actually the Jeff Johns book, Flash Rebirth. It's a speedster in black with red wings on his head, red boots, and a red lightning bolt symbol on his chest. And it's basically death for speedsters. There's just the one in other iterations of the Black Racer. He's been a guy on skis. So they that's the way they did with the speed race. So yeah, doing a lot of time jumping causes a lot of issues, and I feel the same way Dave does. The show got really kind of the same beats in it every single time, and Flash had other villains that weren't speedsters, or he had the Top was a fantastic villain in the comics, and they did not handle that villain well. I'm fine with changing the character into a girl. That's great, do that, but the Top was a psychopath. Like that character is he is the Flash version of the Joker, completely unhinged, and as a murderer. And in the show, she was Mirror Master's girlfriend, and that was the role she was relegated. And she made you dizzy. That was it. Yeah. She gave you vertigo, and you fell down.
Yeah, they the Top was one of those that whenever in the comics the Top would break out and come around. He was chaos for the sake of chaos. And most of the times I ever saw the Top in comics, it was such a big deal that he was out and active that the rogues would help the Flash take him down. Oh. He's that big of a threat.
Whoa.
Yeah, like you said, there's a very unique relationship between the rogues, which is the name of his rogues gallery, a core group of the rogues gallery, and the Flash.
Did the Flash lose his? Well, not that he lost him a lot in the show, but it just seemed like there was a lot of instances where he would lose his speed, or something would happen to where he would have to recover. Did that happen a lot in the comics?
Right now, actually, in DC Rebirth, I haven't read the issue. I think it's 30 that they're on right now, or something. I need to actually read those, my comics from last week. He doesn't have it. Gorilla Grodd stole it with the help of Black Hole and the negative Flash, not the reverse Flash. And Barry's trying to get it back despite everyone telling him stop, and Wally's trying to fight the good fight, and the other Wally is trying to fight the fight. So there are times where it happens.
Okay.
Not a whole lot that I've ever. Now, most of the Flash that I read starting out was by Jeff Johns, and Jeff Johns didn't write Barry Allen. He wrote Wally West because Barry Allen was considered dead.
Oh, so was he considered more like a Peter Parker to a Miles Morales kind of a thing?
Not really. Eventually, I think Johns is the one who wrote Barry Allen coming back. Infinite Crisis.
Barry didn't come back, did he? Well, yeah, the first time he did. No, Infinite Crisis was written by, give me a second.
Jeff Johns.
Oh, shit, it was. How do I?
The point goes to Dave.
I didn't want a crisis question.
Wow. And a Jeff Johns one.
Now, Greg, what shows, what superhero shows do you watch, or do you, or are you curious about?
This is a two-parter because I'm not saying that my life is so busy to where I don't have time to watch TV shows, because if a show is great, I'll make time for it. But I've run into this issue, and maybe you guys have too, where there's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of shows out there. You have Gotham for some. You have Arrow. You have The Flash. You have Supergirl. You have The Arrow. You have Supernatural. You have all of these shows, and no one can really sit in front of their TV and watch all these shows, right? Right now, I think my favorite show has to be top 2 is probably The Flash and Supergirl. And we'll get into Supergirl here in a little bit. If a show like Gotham reaches a point where it dies off, it's hard for me to get back into it because it's like, well, let them figure this shit out.
So much other stuff out
you
there
figure
to
your
grab
stuff
my
out.
attention
Exactly.
now, so you're done.
Yeah, you're done for now. You sit in that corner, you think about what you did. I'm going to go watch The Flash. Or have you guys run into that issue? I mean, do you guys?
Oh God, yes.
You will give 110% until they reach that point of okay.
The Walking Dead is still on somehow. And then we just finished the fucking episode. The Walking Dead sucks
Isn't there
anymore.
a tiger involved now with
Yes.
Ezekiel?
Yes.
Jesus
Jesus is Tiger.
That was Ezekiel's tiger.
Ezekiel.
Was it?
Yeah,
I
Yes,
don't know.
Ezekiel's tiger.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less.
No, I was really into it for so long. I mean, that was like the one show I watched live.
Right.
I sat through commercials for that shit.
Yeah.
And
That's
then,
serious.
like, it just got burnt out because, like, what the hell are we doing here? Why are zombies still walking around? They should decay at some point.
Walking Dead is another one, and that was one that Jess, you were saying you watched it live. Tons of people still do. I did for a couple seasons. Like the first season, I thought was great. The second season, yeah. Hey, we're on a farm. And honestly, to me nowadays, The Walking Dead is either excessive or take away the zombies, and all you have is adults bitching at each other like teenagers.
Really, the formula to watching The Walking Dead is watch the very first episode,
Mm-hmm.
and then only watch the first and last episodes from
God.
each season. That's all you really got to watch.
That's not true.
Because the thing is that show hasn't changed from the first season. It made its point in the first episode, and it hasn't changed. And yes, they're just as famous for killing off characters that you like as Game of Thrones is, but it's so exhausting to watch. It's so tiring. I never watched a single episode of The Walking Dead until like season 5 was getting ready to come out or something. And so I watched the first 4 on Netflix, and I was like, oh, this show is actually kind of neat. I'm emotionally and just I'm done at the end of watching this damn thing, and there's no happiness in the world if that's what your main piece of television is.
Right.
But what about Fear the Walking Dead?
Don't get me started. The title itself pisses me off.
What? Jess, I know you said you fell off with it. I think you fell off later than I did. I started thinking the show went down after the governor was gone. I thought the governor was it Philip Baker? I thought the actor was fantastic, and I thought the performance and everything was really good. But once the governor was gone, I stopped caring. I didn't think they had any really compelling drama to go through. How about you?
I was into it until Negan. And then he took Lucille to everyone's face, and I didn't know what to do at that point. Like, I loved the character, and from what I've heard in the comics, he's a great character, but it just got to that point where I was just like, can we stop? Can we all just get along for a second? Like, the world is falling apart. Just chill, people.
See, I didn't even like Negan in the comics because to me he was somebody he was written like a 6th grader who his parents just told him he could say certain swear words or all the swear words, started writing him. Everything was fucking shit. Like that's all it was. And so I don't know, I couldn't get into the character. And then when it came to putting him on the show, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, great choice. Love you, brud. Love you, brud. Brov. But I didn't like how they introduced him because instead of doing a cliffhanger, they trolled their audience.
I think, you know what? I think that's exactly, because I didn't watch after that first episode of the next season. And after I saw that, I was like, okay, I think we trickled in some of the new episodes, but we were no longer watching live. And it was the trolling between seasons where I was just like, I'm so done with this. This is exhausting.
Yeah. like, okay, to me, a cliffhanger is it leaves you wondering what is going to happen next. What I feel like they did with the introduction of Negan is they kept saying and kept telling people, oh, everything's building up to Negan. Everything's building up to Negan. Everything's building up to Negan. He's going to be in the season finale of, what was it, season 6. Mm-hmm. You got 10 minutes of him. He whacked some people, and that was it. You had no idea. So it wasn't what's going to happen next. It's what the fuck happened.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You had no idea. That's not good. I didn't think that was good television. I didn't think that was good lead up. I didn't think it was good writing, and I didn't think it was a good cliffhanger. It was just trolling your audience.
I'm sure it was hilarious to the studio.
Yeah, the best Negan thing I saw was when Dave Chappelle made fun of it on Saturday Night Live.
It was a weekly thing for me and Dave. We religiously we every single night of the week we were hanging out watching Flash, watching Arrow. We didn't really watch Legends all that much, but I think we eventually got around to watching the first season. He wasn't as interested in watching Supergirl as I was, and I was like, I'm not necessarily the target audience for this show, but I gotta give this day in court, and I fell in love with that show. But
Question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
No,
so
ask the question. Go for it.
As passionate as you guys do not like Gotham, Legends.
Yeah.
Is it Legends? The ones where they took the bad guys from the Flash?
Yeah, couple.
Those two are on. I like Gotham more than that show. That I watched 1 or 2 episodes of Legends, and it did nothing for me. I struggled.
For me, the issue became I got burnt out.
Okay.
There was too much. There were too many shows, and it was too much superhero. It was just, I got burnt out on all of it. Okay. I haven't watched The Flash or Legends or Supergirl or Green Arrow or Legion or Preacher or Gotham or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or I haven't watched Immortals at all. Or Inhumans. I'm completely burnt out on the TV shows. I watch the movies because they come along way more seldom. Right. But the market for me is oversaturated. So I haven't watched, like with The Flash, I know that they switched from Speedsters to the Thinker. The problem is I had 3 seasons of the Speedster and now I don't care. I'm burnt out.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Wow.
And see, I think Legends came around as a show to appeal to Doctor Who fans.
Yep.
It's Doctor Who. It's exactly, the Wave Rider is the TARDIS.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's the show is geared towards Doctor Who fans. They travel to different universes. They travel to different time periods. The Wave Rider is the TARDIS, and instead of just being one Doctor, you have a hodgepodge of villains and superheroes.
I think I found a new show to check out tonight.
Like the first season is bumpy to say the least. Okay. Like the Hawkman, Hawkgirl stuff was, I don't think, the casting issues aside, they weren't really that well acted, but they had grabbed some very good actors to play some very interesting roles. And then season 2 was a lot better. Season 2 was a lot better. I haven't seen anything since then, but because I'm with Dave, it's just a little burnt out.
Oh, and you know what else did it? You know what else did it for me is that they let some of the shows continue, and they actively worked to kill the best one that they had
ever. Yeah,
Constantine.
Yeah, so good.
Constantine lasted 1 season on NBC. I think because NBC was actively trying to kill it. They took a show where they had the perfect guy to play Constantine, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, you are a treasure. You are too good for this world.
And you are welcome on the show anytime, sir.
And if you ever find yourself in St. Louis, I would be honored to buy you a taco. Melissa Benoist, you too. Oh, God, can we edit out that? Because that sounded creepy. Melissa Benoist, I adore you. I loved you in Whiplash. Please let me buy you a taco. But no, you had this great show. You had this great show of Constantine. The perfect guy to play John Constantine. The show was so well executed. It was creepy and dark and funny and compelling. And they put it on primetime Friday nights where they know no one watches TV. They actively sabotaged it. CW didn't. They picked up the character, but they never did more seasons of it. And now they're going to put him in Legends of Tomorrow, which still probably won't get me to watch it. And so I think that also kind of jaded me towards the superhero TV is because they had this great show. And and that's now I don't even watch Legion or Preacher, which I watched a couple episodes of, which was so good.
Okay.
I watched the Netflix shows mostly.
On that same token, I kind of feel as if the Netflix shows are geared more towards the adult audience because they're slightly they're darker than what you would find on the CW. So,
Daredevil.
I mean, do you guys see them differently? Do you guys see the Netflix shows as being a different level of superhero?
I think the budgets are so much better.
The budgets are
Okay.
higher,
Okay.
and they cover, and that there's something to be said for the Netflix formula,
Okay.
which is we're going to create the whole series, then we'll put it out. You watch it when you want to watch it.
No, and it's
And-
brilliant
yeah.
because with everybody's schedules nowadays, like, I'm sorry, but so we titled the show Binge-Worthy for a reason. That's
Right.
how we watch shows now.
Right.
So, you know,
But that being said, like those shows aren't without their own issues. I mean, Daredevil is the first two seasons, fantastic. The first season of Jessica Jones, I really enjoyed. Didn't think I would, but Iron Fist was easily one of the most painful, unwatchable pieces of garbage I have seen since The Land Before Time 7.
And I would put Jessica Jones right behind it. As far as difficult to watch, to finish, to binge.
To the point of the Netflix shows with Daredevil, I think another thing that works for them is that Netflix is a paid user service. It is not a network television series. It is not a cable television series. So they have more freedom to use language that you wouldn't ordinarily get on a network or cable TV show,
Right.
to explore themes and the violence and everything that you don't always get. And they don't get gratuitous with it.
Okay.
Daredevil is a very dark show, but it's also very compelling. And I give the writers for Daredevil all the credit in the world. I thought they did. I'm a huge Daredevil fan. I've got a big Daredevil tattoo right here. They did a brilliant job, and they introduced a lot of things that I think were very important to the character, such as a devout Catholicism. That's important to that character.
Okay.
He has to deal with Catholic guilt all the time.
Right.
And I thought that was the complex relationships between his jobs and his faith, his friends,
Moral code.
and his jobs. Yeah, all of it. I thought were really brilliantly done, and I thought they did same thing with Jessica Jones. I thought Jessica Jones was written brilliantly. David Tennant, you're a treasure. Luke Cage, I thought had a lot of heart and soul to it. And yeah, Iron Fist is where we started to see a downslide. The Immortal Iron Fist, I am the Immortal Iron Fist, protector of Kunlun, and sworn enemy of the hand. That became the new I'm a vegan. This man has fainted. Is there a doctor on this plane? I'm the Immortal Iron Fist, sworn protector of Kunlun and sworn enemy of the hand. Sit down, Blondie. The Defenders was a little bit better than Iron Fist, but I didn't feel like that was much of an accomplishment.
I mean, it was better, and then Iron Fist showed up on screen and ruined the whole damn thing.
Yeah, and how do you have a worse fight choreography
Yeah,
for the guy that's supposed to be a better fighter?
Like the best fighter, like unquestionably,
Right.
Yes,
no character in Marvel Comics is a better hand-to-hand combatant than Iron Fist, and he looks like he could win a schoolyard fight.
Is that them? Well, no, because then you have characters like Luke Cage, who's just strong as shit. I was gonna say, is that their way of kind of suppressing his ability to keep it more grounded?
No, it's bad writing, Greg.
Yeah.
It's not we should make him as good of a fighter, just a struggle. No, because in the comics he still has a struggle.
Right.
It's just shit writing, and
Right,
it's really what it is. So, Mike, I'm wondering, because there's got to be people listening that watch the same shows that we do, and I know, Jess has thrown a bunch of questions at me as far as the how they story. Okay, where did some of the stuff from that's in the shows come from in the comics? You've asked me Daredevil ones. Can you remember any of those? We addressed the Wally and Barry one. I know you've had Supergirl questions, which I always love answering that. Supergirl, like I said earlier, was a show I'm not the target audience for.
So-
I'm a guy in my 30s with a big beard.
with Supergirl, I didn't realize that started on a completely different network.
ABC.
What? No.
So
It was ABC.
It was
On
CBS.
CBS.
That too.
on
I don't know.
on that, now leads to my next question, because I'm not familiar with the comics. Is the Flash and Supergirl in the comics in different universes, worlds? What? No, not in the comics.
No,
So is it because that she started out on a different network?
Exactly what it was, because CW is owned by Warner Brothers and CBS. Well, Warner Brothers, they didn't have a time slot for her open on Warner Brothers, so CBS said, "Okay, we'll throw her over here." Well, you couldn't. There was an issue with getting characters to, and the thing is, CBS shows film in Los Angeles. The CW shows film in Canada. So they just did it as an easy way of saying, hey, they're in completely different universes. They're not going to come across each other. Oh, hey, look, Supergirl's moving to CW Monday night. And now now it's going to film in Canada, and they can just walk down the street to the other end of the lot and actually do crossovers and stuff. And it helped that, Melissa Benoist and Grant Gustin had known each other previously, and they had worked together. And so there was a natural chemistry there. But no, in the comics, they're both Justice League members.
No, and that's what I thought. Like, that's why I've been confused watching the show, because I thought they had worked together before. Like, it just didn't make sense.
No,
so,
they had.
okay.
Yeah, they definitely had. And it really goes to show that if you have a member of the Flash family and a member of the Superman family, and you're going up against any villain, it's not a long fight. I mean, it's really... If you're dealing with, whether it's Supergirl and Flash or Superman and Flash, it could be Supergirl and it could be Streaky the Cat and Bart, and I think they handled that situation quite quickly.
Well, yeah, Bart's faster than Wally and Barry.
This is true.
As you go through the generations of the Flashes that come later, they keep getting faster. The absolute fastest Flashes are Irie and Jay Allen.
Wally's kids.
No. Yeah. Bart or Wally's kids from like the 25th or 30th century. Kids, there's a lot of time travel in the Flash.
Yeah.
You figure out Iris West
is from the future.
Is from the future. Yeah, Flash like 300 after he kills Eobard Thawne, spoiler from 1970s. He retires from being the Flash with Iris to like the 25th or 28th century or something like that. It's so,
and they have kids, and they have two kids. They're the Tornado Twins. No, they're twins. They have this. It's Dawn and Dawn.
Oh, that's right.
The Tornado Twins are Dawn and Dawn.
Well, that's
and
confusing.
Yeah.
Right. DAWN is the girl and DON is the son, and they are Dawn, and they're Bart's parents. But very rarely do they ever show up in comics. I mean, they don't. You just get told, oh, they had kids and they were the Tornado Twins, and that was it. Then Bart eventually comes back to what would be the present to learn. Hey, I want to be around my grandfather.
Now, in the sense of Supergirl and changing networks, I know sometimes shows change networks, but I feel like Supergirl was one of those that did that quite quickly from one season to another. Versus a season, and then it dies off for a few years and comes back to a different network. Do you guys feel that the switch between CBS to CW, was there any change in the show and how it was written? Like, was it more darker? Was it more edgy? Because obviously different networks have different target audiences, right? So do you feel like they geared more towards the comic book?
There wasn't a change in that. There was one major downside from going from one network to the other, and it had to do with the filming location.
Okay.
And it was because we no longer got the character Cat Grant in Supergirl, played by
Callista
Flockhart. Because holy cow, did she steal every scene she was in?
She didn't own that
and
role.
I'm not a Callista Flockhart fan necessarily, but
she
like that. Oh, yeah, and that show, like I said, I'm not a target audience for that show, but that show sucked me in so fast. I bought in, and because that show had a lot of charm and a lot of heart, and she brought a lot of it. So when it started season 2, and they're like, hey, we're going to get Superman in the show, I was really excited, but I'm like, but Cat Grant's not going to be around as much. And I love that bitch.
Right.
And she showed up, quite often. every couple of not every couple of episodes, but she showed up every once in a while,
Right.
and I just loved those episodes.
Mhm.
Like she was able to she shows up and is able to boss around the president of the United States and an alien queen, and she's like, "Listen, bitches, we're gonna sit down like adult women, and we're gonna handle our."
I just want to be her.
And
Yes.
I think that speaks to something that's very important for shows that maybe they don't that help make a show work. And that is your supporting characters, your ancillary characters, and most especially your villains have to be strong. One of the strongest parts of Smallville was Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor. One of the strongest parts of Daredevil on Netflix is Foggy. I love the guy that plays Foggy. He does it brilliantly. But oh my God, Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, was that good?
Wait, was that the guy from Pete and Pete?
Vincent D'Onofrio?
No, he's from Law and Order Special Victims aspect of this. Criminal Intent.
And Full Metal Jacket.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Kingpin. Yes. Are they ever going to bring him back? Because I loved the Kingpin.
Season 2.
Yeah.
But
He was in Season 2. Yeah.
but he's not back though.
Yeah. He Kingpin never goes away.
He started as a Spider-Man villain, but very much became more of a Daredevil villain.
Oh, okay.
And somebody's got to hire Bullseye in Season 3.
Honestly, though, even with Kingpin in jail, Vanessa is still out there, and in the comics, Vanessa is far more terrifying. She's the Kingpin without the moral hang-ups.
Really?
Vanessa will do anything it takes to keep her man and her family safe, no matter the cost. She has murdered her own child to do that.
Well, who has?
But then Jessica Jones, David Tennant, very strong.
I guess they did bring him back for a bit in Season 2.
I haven't finished it yet. And then
My bad.
I can't remember who else, but there's a lot of those shit. And speaking of the, going back to, a little bit and talking about that whole Netflix model, now Amazon is getting into sort of the superhero swing of things, because obviously you can watch shows from those networks, but they've now included they've had The Tick, which I love. Peter Serafinowicz, I think, did a great job. I thought it was hysterical.
Right.
And now they've just announced, and I swear to God, I'm going to have to look into this more because I feel like it's almost an April Fool's Day prank. Amazon has announced that they will create a series of a Garth Ennis book called The Boys.
The Boys. I'm
shocked by this because The Boys is a very adult-oriented comic. It's about if I recall correctly, because I only read the first story arc, the first graphic novel of The Boys. My boss lent it to me.
Sorry, if I remember correctly, The Boys. Yeah, no, it's a legit thing, and the guy who is lead developing it is Eric Kripke.
Is that Supernatural guy?
Yes.
Oh shit.
That name sounds familiar.
Oh.
The Boys, if I recall correctly, is about a group of people who are meant to keep tabs on a group of superheroes. The problem is these superheroes love being superheroes. Nothing wrong with that, but they love it so much they get hedonistic with it. Like there's an offshoot of The Boys called Herogasm, where the superheroes gather once a year for a massive superhero orgy.
What?
Yeah, it seems it's excessive. The Boys is so gratuitous and excessive. That's why I'm surprised that Amazon's making a series out of it.
Wow.
I'll watch it out of morbid curiosity because they made FXX made a series out of, or AMC made a series out of Preacher,
Right.
which is also kind of excessive, but is also a neat comic. Check it out. And the first couple episodes I saw of Preacher, I loved. My mother loved Preacher. She absolutely loved it. I think she finished it. And in the first episode, spoiler alert for the very first episode of Preacher, the entity that they have to hunt murders Tom Cruise.
Nice.
It's going after religious leaders and it murders Tom Cruise. I
Take that, Tampa.
We can't say that, Lakeland.
Well,
Or Clearwater?
The boys in that story, they're actually not the hedonistic bad. It's actually it's a group of superheroes. They're like, hey, we want to go after corrupt superheroes and they take on all that stuff.
Yeah.
Carl Urban is attached to star in that.
Oh, I'm sold. I love Carl Urban.
Yeah.
Carl Urban, you are a treasure.
Ass.
Dredd was too good for this world.
Huh.
Jess, you look like you want to say
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So there's recently announced for FX is a new show called Why the Last Man. This is a series that I read and I haven't finished, but oh my god, it's amazing. So basically, you jump in and all of a sudden, worldwide, any mammal with a Y chromosome, they all just die at the same time, except for this one guy and his pet monkey. They are the only two males left on the planet.
I know the feeling.
That's gonna be a
weird pet monkey.
That's gonna be a weird repopulation.
Yeah.
But like, so at some point, I think I forget what his mother did. She was important in some sense, I feel like. Maybe government. I'm not 100% sure.
He's a superhero. His mom's probably dead.
Nope. She's I remember now. She's a member of U.S. Congress. So he's trying to track her down, and because he's the last man alive, and it's pretty much post-apocalyptic scenario, like these women are going crazy and taking over and burning cities to the ground, and it's crazy, but he has to hide his identity while he's trying to find his mother. And then, so it's just following that storyline. I'm super excited for that series.
Wow.
So tuck it back and stuff your shirt.
Oh, here's an interesting observation. So Disney acquired Marvel, correct?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Most Disney movies, they kill off the main character's mother, correct?
Disney does, yes.
So
Disney hates women.
So
Disney.
Whoa.
And the controversy and debate begins.
We're about to have some words, children.
Did anything and didn't have to be saved by a man.
So I wonder if Disney will
start killing off all the mothers.
Well, no, I mean like bring back Ben Parker and kill Aunt May.
Oh my gosh.
No.
You can't do that.
It doesn't serve, like, does it fundamentally, would it change anything? No, it's okay. Uncle Ben's still alive, but all right, yeah, like Aunt May is just as important to him as I think. It's like in various Superman comics that you've had either Jonathan was dead or they were both alive. You never had Jonathan was still around and Martha was gone.
Right.
Martha, why do you say that name? Aqua Martha.
So I mean, it doesn't necessarily change. I don't think it would change who Spider-Man necessarily is. He's still living with the guilt of screwing up because he didn't save someone he could have.
So, actually, since we're talking about these streaming service shows, it occurs to me we missed one. On Netflix, we mentioned Daredevil. We mentioned Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Defenders. We totally forgot about The Punisher, which I think that just premiered like last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge Punisher fan, but I really like that show. Mm-hmm. I thought they did a fantastic job. It's pretty high up.
He's just a big grumpy teddy bear that needs a hug.
That you don't want to hug.
It's up there as far as my favorite seasons on there. Which actually I think it'd be a great time to mention. Next week we'll actually be talking about The Punisher. That'll be our next episode.
Not just the TV show.
Right. Yeah. Character in general and the reflections of that of society in that literature. But honestly, I think we've had some good conversation.
Yeah.
Today,
yeah. Maybe we go through and tell everybody if we had one series that we had to say go out and watch it. Let's give a watch list this week instead of a read list.
Ladies
Jess,
first.
how about you? What do you?
Supergirl.
One series.
Supergirl.
What?
Supergirl,
Oh.
Supergirl, Supergirl.
Supergirl. All right.
When are new episodes of Supergirl on? Do we know?
They moved it from Mondays to Tuesdays, I think.
Okay.
On Tuesdays.
Free plug for the network sponsors. What do you think? One series.
Well, I was totally going to just say Supergirl because, but if I can't say Supergirl, then I have to say Flash. If you haven't watched The Flash yet, you need to start season 1 up. It's charming. It is a lot of fun. It does have some soap opera-ness to it, but it's very well written. You care about the characters, and they do the comics proud.
And on to that, my recommendation is going to be Daredevil on Netflix, which also is available on Blu-ray. Same thing. Faithful to the comics. Great little tongue-in-cheek references to the comics. And ass-kicking action. Unbelievable performances by a long shot.
Right.
And Greg, how about you?
I'm gonna be extra and suggest two shows.
Oh.
First one because I do feel like this should gain some recognition. Luke Cage was amazing, but above Luke Cage, I would have to say The Punisher, because The Punisher was definitely a show that surprised me because I didn't know much about The Punisher. I've seen The Punisher movies previously, and they didn't do much for me. Yeah, those are my 2 suggestions.
Well, I think that about does it here. Don't forget, for those of you listening, please subscribe to Nerdsplain It so you can get our episodes fresh right as they come out. Don't forget to like us on any of our social media. Jess, what do we got?
Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Vero, which I thought was going to be a thing, but I'm pretty sure it's not.
And GeoCities and
Netscape. Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves.
Believe it or not, I started a MySpace page 6 weeks ago. Not for the podcast for myself. Trying to get my band noted.
STLpunk.com. Only Midwesterners are going to get that one. Don't forget, if we left anything out, if you've got different opinions, if you think some shows are great, if you want to tell us what shows you love and why we should watch them, hit up any of our social media.
We are inviting
or the Nerdsplain It hotline.
all conversations. If you don't agree, if you do, let us know.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. If you don't agree, if you do, leave us a message on the helpline 805-669-7230. Oh, I lost my headphones again because I'm too animated. There we go. And that'll do it for us at Nerdsplain It. I'm Dave.
I'm House.
I'm Greg.
I'm Jess.
I'm drunk.
Later, nerds.
Later.
Bye.
You want to try to claim Daredevil? Come get these hands.
Yeah. You can have these hands at the low price of fight me, bitch.
I love how she says she's trying to take it all in. I was so tempted to throw out. That's what makes you popular in college.
What made me popular in college.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
No, but
Third stall from the left, guys. You know where I was at.